Hi there everybody, welcome back to my channel. My name is Rachel and I'm a real estate agent here in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, dedicated to helping my clients find their best home, and many of my clients include relocation clients. Today I'm going to be doing a really fun video. I'm going to be reacting to Reddit comments and Reddit threads about the North Hills versus the South Hills of Pittsburgh. I have found Reddit to be a very good resource for learning about Pittsburgh in general. Like, anytime somebody has a fair housing question that I can't answer, I do refer them to Reddit because Reddit commenters are anonymous and they're allowed to be honest about the things that they say. So I always refer my clients there, even if it seems a little bit weird or unprofessional. But again, Reddit is just an incredible resource with honest opinions. And I was a little bit amused at reading some of the comments that I've already read on some of these threads. So I wanted to do a fun video and react to these comments and tell you how accurate they are. And honestly, a lot of them are pretty accurate because Pittsburghers, they know Pittsburgh. Stay tuned. Before we start our video today, I just wanted to let you know that if you're thinking about moving to Pittsburgh or relocating to Pittsburgh, I am the person to call. I am one of the best relocation agents here in Pittsburgh, and I have helped countless people find their perfect, or almost perfect, home here in Pittsburgh. So if you need help with that, you have to give me a call, 412-926-0806, or email me at the email below, and I would be so happy and grateful to help you. So let's get into this video. So I'm gonna actually start with the first thread I see here. Is there really a divide between the North Hills and the South Hills? A Reddit user asks. When I moved to Pittsburgh, I moved to a town in the North Hills. This past year, I moved to the South Hills. Every time I tell people where I moved from, they act like I moved to a completely different world. Oh wow, what brought you down here? The distance from my old place to my new one is just 48 minutes. And I've lived in many other states where 48 minutes of driving didn't make you feel like you're in a different world. Okay, so I just want to say this. I grew up in the South Hills. And having grown up in the South Hills, I will tell you that it is true that the North Hills is a completely different world. If you're thinking about moving to the North Hills or the South Hills, and it's something that you're really questioning, because the North Hills and the South Hills both have really great points, but they are very different. It's great to get opinions from people that live in both places or have lived in both places, or to get opinions from a realtor like me. But yeah, they are extremely different, and in some of these threads, you really are going to have that verification of what I've been telling you all along, because I think North Hills people like the North Hills and South Hills people like the South Hills, and there's very little crossover. Growing up, I didn't go up to the North Hills ever. You could have taken me up to any place in the North Hills and I wouldn't have known where I was. It would have looked like a completely different landscape because the South Hills is just so much more densely populated, and I felt like I had everything I needed down here. My family felt like they had everything they needed down here. They never needed to leave and never needed to go up north. Nobody wanted to go through the Liberty tunnels or the Fort Pitt tunnels or over any of the bridges to cross the river to go up north. So those were the reasons why there's no crossover. And I think a lot of people in the North Hills feel the same way. They just don't want to cross over. There's no need to. But I will say that, again, each part of Pittsburgh has its own thing going on and its own charm. So we're going to figure that out right now with what these Reddit people have to say. I grew up in a bunch of spots in the South Hills. You could blindfold me and drop me off almost anywhere in the South Hills and I will find out where I'm at pretty easily. Drop me off in the North Hills and I might as well be in Canada. Yeah, that is legitimately what I just said, completely accurate.
Disconcertingly accurate.
Part of it is that you really don't need to go to the South Hills if you live in the North Hills, or the other way around. Why sit in traffic and drive across the city to eat at an equivalent restaurant or shop at similar shops that you can drive Why sit in traffic and drive across the city to eat at equivalent restaurants or shop at similar shops that you have in your own suburb? I mean, yeah, that's basically it. The North Hills and the South Hills, they do have like their similar mom and pop shops and their own restaurants and their own vibe and their own communities, but the North Hills is definitely more spread out, and it has more big commerce, so a lot more department stores on McKnight Road, where in the South Hills you kind of have to like drive pretty south to get to any of those types of places. Like I'd say the Century 3 Mall area is sort of that way, but it's quite a drive from downtown. Pittsburghers don't cross rivers. The fact that it takes you almost 50 minutes to get from one side of the verb to the other is evidence as to why. Remember, none of us is from California. None of us is from Chicago. None of us is from Texas. Well, I'm not gonna say that like nobody in Pittsburgh is from Texas or nobody in Pittsburgh is from Los Angeles, but like to us, a 45 to 50 minute commute is a long ass time. Like it is a super, super, super long time. It is a long time. And you might laugh at us for that, but we don't wanna put up with it because we're spoiled. We're spoiled with like 25-minute commutes normally if you're living in the right place, and if you are living in the right place, you're probably living close to where you work, so yeah, it's a long time for us. We don't love it. I have lived in the North Hills of Pittsburgh, Glenshaw, Ross, and Wexford most of my life, and need a GPS to get around the other hills of Pittsburgh. Most of my time is spent up here or in Lawrenceville, Strip, District, East End, and I have no reason to go south of downtown ever. I'm too old for South Side. This statement rings true to me. Because growing up, yeah, didn't have any reason to go to the North Hills, but I was always going around Lawrenceville, Strip District, East End, Shady Side, Squirrel Hill, and all of those really hot, hip places. And yes, you do get too old for the South Side at some point. Yes, the South Hills is denser and has more traditional towns and neighborhoods, along with the accompanying transit and sidewalks. The North Hills has more highways, McMansions, and box stores. You can see the difference from space a la Google Maps. Yeah, that is actually completely accurate. If you go on Google Maps, you will see how much more spread out and how little veins the North Hills has compared to the South Hills. And as I said before, yes, the big box stores, that's exactly what it's called. Whenever you drive through McKnight Road or you drive down the highway, and it's all these department stores. Where in the South Hills, it's not really like that. At least it's not immediately obvious or evident that there is that kind of thing going on down here, because it is more tight-knit, close together, mom and pop shops, like smaller business districts and all of that kind of thing. I just thought it was like really funny how it was like, bruh, look at Google Maps. Tells you all you need to know about the North Hills versus the South Hills. Also just want to say that the South Hills is hot, stinky garbage for driving, and it should be ashamed of itself. Okay, how many times have I told you guys that the South Hills traffic sucks? It absolutely friggin' sucks. It sucks. I mean, Dormont, Mount Lebanon, Bethel Park, Scott Township. Just going down West Liberty Avenue honestly makes my blood boil, because it's like half the time there's cars parked on the 2-lane street, and so it becomes like a 1-lane road, and it just becomes so full of traffic that I have had to learn how to go through the back streets of Dormont and Brookline to get back home, because it is just such a pain, and they are not lying when they say the traffic friggin' sucks down here.
Sucks.
And Bethel Park is probably the worst place I've ever driven in my entire life. Like, I'm talking 15-minute traffic lights. I have sat in 15-minute traffic lights just getting down Baptist Road before. So anybody that's interested in Bethel Park, just a heads up, during rush hour, it's not cute. They nearly are two different walks of life. South Hills is old money, North Hills is new money. Also 48 minutes is using the highway, and likely not during rush hour. Rush hour in Pittsburgh lasts from 3 to 6 p.m. So essentially, most of the evening for people trying to do stuff after work, sports events, shows, drinks with friends, etc. Traveling from, say, Ross Park Mall, down 19, into 279 into the city, and then across the Liberty Bridge, down 19 again, and let's say the South Hills Village, that would be at least 90 minutes. Yeah, so what I really wanted to highlight here is that, like, because the North Hills is new money, it's a lot easier to get around, the infrastructure is better, and the houses are newer and more spread out. I think they realized when they were building houses up there that people didn't want to be squashed together like they are here in South Hills, and why that is so much of a pain when they built that. And traveling during rush hour through the North Hills going down to the South Hills Village, which, like, again, there's no reason you would ever do that because the Ross Park Mall is right there. But yeah, that would be absolutely horrible because South Hills Village is partially in Bethel Park, which is highly, highly congested, as we have discussed. As a part-time Uber driver, when I get a rider to the South Hills, I want to drive off a bridge. And there's many bridges to drive off of here in Pittsburgh. And when it's to the North Hills, it's like a whimsical vacation of pure bliss. Sorry, South Hills. And everything I've said about commuting in the South Hills is true so far on this thread. We have very, very little detractors from the sentiment of the South Hills sucks for traffic. I grew up in Banksville and absolutely hate the South Hills. Basically anything past Dormont Park, I try to avoid as much as possible. To me, it's impossible to get anywhere in the South Hills quickly since you basically only have Washington Road, 19, to access anywhere, and half the time it seems like parked cars take up one or two of the available lanes. What did I tell you? What did I just tell you? I'm right. I'll take McKnight over Washington any bleeping day. On top of that, and this is completely anecdotal, but the vast majority of people I've met from the South Hills have been snobby as hell. Obviously not everyone, or maybe even majority, but that's just been my experience. Now, it's actually funny that this person says the South Hills people are snobby because I talk to people that live in the South Hills all the time. Again, I grew up here, and they actually think the North Hills people are snobby because they have, you know, the new money thing going on, and they don't have to live this, like, more, sort of cramped lifestyle, this, like, more city-like lifestyle that we South Hillers have had to live. So, like, yeah, there's definitely opinions on both sides about that, but the South Hills people definitely find the North Hills people snobby. I'm not saying I do, but I know people that definitely do. I grew up in the North Hills. Couldn't say I've ever been to the South Hills on purpose. OP has a point. The divide belongs to generation gap. My belief is that the South Hills areas are older and have older population. North Hills is relatively newly developed and younger generations are looking for newer hippie houses, are moving there. Also, North Hills makes it easy to commute to the south side and downtown as no tunnels to be conquered. So it is a gap of old and new that you notice in behavior. Typically, where you grow up attaches to you and remains with you, which I think is absolutely true. As somebody who's younger than a lot of people living in the South Hills, as I've said before, the South Hills is a very much older community than the North Hills, and it's very, like, the South Hills is very Yinzery. It's like, just like old time Pittsburgh people you find here, and like people that have that heavy Pittsburgh accent, they're 100% from the South Hills. Like, it's just a thing. I really love the North Hills. Even though I grew up down here, I just like the accessibility of the North Hills. I like the infrastructure. I like the space. I like the driving, you know, which is so much easier. And if you have a pet peeve about sitting in traffic like I do, the South Hills can really, really ruin your day. And I'm not kidding. Like, there's certain parts of the South Hills where it's like, just angers you, the construction, the traffic, this and that, and it's just like, it does get very irritating, and you just don't have those same problems in the North Hills. Like, you really don't. So I think that is like a new generation thing where I think the millennials and the Gen Z, they've lost their patience. Like, everything is very instant in this world, like boom, 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 instant gratification. So I think the North Hills lends itself better to that mindset. I read about new restaurants or attractions, but as soon as I see it's in the South Hills, I go, nope, may as well be on another planet. So now we're gonna go on to this thread. People of the North and South Hills, why would you never live in the other area? Should be a good one. It depends on what you are looking for. A lot of the South Hills suburbs started as trolley suburbs, which is true. They have nice walkable sections, decent public transit, and fairly high population density due to this. However, the lots are small and packed and tight, except for the very expensive sections of a few of them, which would be like Upper St. Clair and Peters Township, mostly. Maybe a little bit of like Scott Township. There are car-dependent suburbs with large lots in the South Hills, but they tend to be a bit further out from the city proper. In contrast, the North Hills suburbs generally got started later and are very car-dependent. You get bigger lots and lower population density, but they aren't very walkable and the public transit sucks, which is unfortunately true. You get a lot more house for your money in the North Hills than in the South Hills, true. These are very broad generalizations of the two areas. It typically comes down to what you are looking for in a house and neighborhood. So yeah, like these things are true, and these are very, very widely held opinions about the North Hills versus the South Hills, and I've mentioned this in some of my videos about the North Hills and the South Hills, which I've covered extensively. So yes, as you can see, the general public does agree with my assessments. You know, my assessments as a native of Pittsburgh. I live in the South Hills, Brookline. I like sidewalks. I like being able to walk to the library, ice cream shop, bars, and restaurants. Oak Hill Post is the best. Which, honestly, okay, shout out to Oak Hill Post. Free advertising. It is the friggin' best. It really is. I friggin' love the Oak Hill Post, and God, we are so blessed in Brookline to have them. Just saying. I like the style of the old Pittsburgh houses. I like that I can be downtown in 15 minutes by bus or car. I like being able to walk to the T in Dormont to easily get to the Pirates game. I really like my neighbors in the community here. I can walk to Moore Park to play tennis or go to the pool. South Park is 20 minutes away. That's really the only con. I wish I had a large park with lots of trails closer to me. Yes, all of these things are true, and all of these things are definitely high points about living in the South Hills. What do you feel is worse, 51 or 28? They both suck. Now, 28 it goes towards Etna, it goes towards Shaler, it's going towards Hampton. It's not McKnight Road. McKnight Road is like north-north, and 28's like east-north, and yeah, 28 does suck during rush hour. Mostly, I think it's because of Lawrenceville, but once you sort of get up towards Etna, or you get in the Etna area, it's really not that bad. It's just a long stretch of road with like nothing on it at certain points. Again, like it is a lot of big box stores and gas stations and things like that, but like that's just the North Hills for you. 51 is definitely worse. Like 51 is just like a hot mess. Car accidents all the time, like people driving crazy. I think it's because it's one of the big highways in the South Hills where we don't have a lot of them, and people are just like utilizing it like there's no tomorrow because they don't want to sit in traffic on like 19 or West Liberty. I never realized the air quality difference until joining this Reddit. No way I'd want to move to the South Hills for that reason alone. I don't think I have air quality problems where I live. I mean, maybe I do because I live in the city, but like that's like any city you live in. But the North Hills for sure has better air quality, again, because there's just less population, less houses, less cars, less all of that kind of stuff. So yeah, I will agree with that. 279, 579 is the absolute best option for when you have to commute downtown, and 51 is Saints Butthole. 279 is McKnight Road, so yeah, I definitely agree with this assessment. I am not a native, but when looking to buy, I checked both north and south and just liked the vibe of Mount Lebanon better than any other neighborhood that was comparable in price point. We needed a top-notch school, elementary through high school, sidewalks in my neighborhood with mature trees, stuff within a 10-minute drive, and to live in an area where I wasn't going to have to see a certain political party's crazy flags festooning their homes year-round. Mount Lebanon fit the bill, and while I am not crazy about the commute to campus, I really feel the trade-off is worth it. Very happy here. And I wanted to include this because Mount Lebanon is probably the most popular neighborhood in the South Hills. No, it's definitely the most popular neighborhood in the South Hills, and it might be the most popular neighborhood in Pittsburgh. It might be the best neighborhood in Pittsburgh. It's just got its own thing going on. Mount Lebanon like has its own world. It has its own charm. It is awesome. It is truly awesome. It's like you're living in a little small city that's not a city, that's like just world-renowned. I don't know, it's very hard to explain. You kind of have to come and experience it, but Mount Lebanon is truly a joy. If you're talking about South Hills snobs, they might be in Mount Lebanon. I'm not saying one way or the other, but they might be. But like really, I mean, I honestly, like people in Pittsburgh are nice, generally speaking. Yes, you're gonna have snobby people everywhere, but like in general, even Mount Lebanon people, even Upper St. Clair people, even like, you know, anybody in the wealthier communities, people are just generally nice. So I wouldn't worry too much about that. I'd never lived north of the city because I couldn't go out my door, walk a few blocks, and jump on the T to get downtown. It's super convenient and cheap. When I moved to the South Hills, I sold my car and my family now has one car. I saved a ton of money. And you know what? Yeah, fair point. Like, I know a bunch of people that got rid of their cars when they moved to the South Hills or when they live in the South Hills. My brother survived a couple good months without having a car. It became a little bit of a pain for him because, you know, sometimes the trolley transit can break down, and these days we've been having a little bit of a tough time with that. But generally speaking, it's reliable. And yeah, if you absolutely need it, it's there, and you can save a lot of money on a car payment, because we all know car payments are an enormous expense these days with the prices of cars and the interest rate and all that kind of stuff. I grew up in the South Hills and moved to Ross recently with my partner, who is from the North Hills. I gotta say, the North Hills is so much easier. It takes me 20 minutes tops to get to town, and that's with traffic and finding parking. I work in Lawrenceville, and it's still so easy. There are multiple ways to get there. Also, we were able to get a house for a really good price with a huge backyard. Easy access to 279 and 65. I can still get to the South Hills pretty easily to see my family. And honestly, like, that's where I'm at with this process. I think when I buy another house, I think I'm gonna move to the North Hills because of the exact reasons that were stated in this person's comment. I really would like more space for my dog, and I really don't feel the commute from the North Hills to the South Hills is as bad as the reverse. And so, yeah, I like definitely agree with this assessment. Woohoo, yes, 1 point for the North Hills. It seems that there's a lot of comments for the South Hills here, but if you're a realtor like me, and you know, you have to have a car, and like you kind of have seen what the North Hills has to offer in terms of spaciousness, it's very, very attractive. And I really like the homes in the North Hills too. They're not too old and they're not too modern, so it's like a really good balance. And honestly, like, a lot of these comments for the South Hills are saying like, we like the South Hills because we like to walk to places. We like the proximity to the mom and pop shops. We like the older houses. We think it's prettier down here. And I think a lot of that is valid. So I will give that to the South Hills. And being a South Hills native, like, I completely agree that these are all really good, valuable characteristics of the South Hills. Mount Lebanon has Manhattan traffic. I don't think that's quite true, but it's pretty funny. So I think that sums it up, and I think you've got enough of an idea about what the people think about the North Hills versus the South Hills, the pros and the cons, straight from the mouths of the people that live here in Pittsburgh, people that are natives, people that have lived here a while. And you're not just getting your information from me, so don't just take it from me, even though I know what I'm talking about because I've lived here my whole life. But I just wanted to prove it to you guys with this reaction video. So if you liked this video, please give it a thumbs up. Please subscribe to my channel. Please leave a comment. Please leave comments about what video you'd like me to do next, what topics you'd like me to cover. And again, if you're looking for relocation services here in Pittsburgh, please give me a call at 412-926-0806 or email me at the email below. And I would be so happy to help you, as this is my life's work and passion. So thank you so much again for watching my channel, and I will see you all next time. Bye-bye.